Hi, and welcome to the Teaching Curriculum Edge. This is our screencast in order to give our future teachers as well as our peers an idea of what the Teaching Curriculum Edge is all about. Our group members are Andrew Bull, Danielle Honecker, Meredith Seville, and Justin Taylor. So, when coming up with this lesson, we are thinking about how ourselves will be teaching teachers as well as how teachers can then apply the lesson that we are teaching to their students. So we have some essential questions. Our essential questions were, how does the history of the book Anne Frank and the Holocaust impact your interpretation of the book? And then our big essential question is, how do we see overlap between the history and English aspect of Anne Frank? Now this kind of dives into what the teaching curriculum edge was all about, how we have to come up with a collaborative and unique way to allow everybody's courses to flow together throughout the time that they are in school or they're learning or whatever the curriculum they enter to may be. Now, as future educators that might want to use this lesson plan in their own classrooms, we wanted to show how this lesson is meeting certain Common Core standards, which you will have to do when you are a teacher in your own room. So we have the first Core standard, determine a central idea of a text and analyze its development over the course of the text, including its relationship to supporting ideas, provide an objective summary of the text. Then we also have more Common Core standards, analyze how text makes connection among and a distinction between individuals, ideas, or events. As you can see, even though we are teaching teachers this lesson, we are still incorporating the Common Core, which will be essential to do in your own room. So some of our goals through this lesson were to inform the class how two different designs of a lesson plan may come together to work as one. And this is really trying to show that when we do our lesson plans, our lesson needs to be student-centered and not teacher-centered, which is another one of the goals of the curriculum edge. How can we force our students to get out there, do the research, how we need to be coaches in terms of helping them along in their academic journey. So our established goals, which we'd really like to teach, are the differences between depth versus coverage. So how do you talk about a topic but really get into the meat of it so students are learning and understanding? So our introduction is goes off Milton, what the teaching curriculum edge has to do about. But this is where we want to talk about our major activity. We're doing activities War of the Majors. So what we're going to do is split the class up into two major groups, the English and the Social Studies majors, and then have them come up with two different lesson plans on how they might teach Anne Frank. And then we're going to have them come together and see if they can collaborate on something to really make a cohesive plan that will allow students in both English class and history class to get the full spectrum of learning. Since we are providing an activity which will require some knowledge, we're going to incorporate the student-centered versus teaching-centered. Our group are the teachers, and we are coaching the English majors and the social studies majors to come together to work on something collaboratively. How are we going to do this is we're going to provide some sources so that they can reference, get an idea of what to do, and then they can develop their lesson plans. So some of our sources are websites that will then that can be transferred into the lesson plan. So our first website is annefrank.org. Now this website gives basic information about Anne Frank, some background knowledge that teachers and students might need to know. And if teachers are really interested in it, there's actually a teachers portal in which lesson ideas, tips, and ways to teach the Anne Frank lesson can be taught and found out. Our next website is 360 Cities. What 360 Cities is, it gives a panoramic view of the area in which the story might be taking place. So for the Anne Frank, that Diary of Anne Frank in the book, we can see what it was like living in Amsterdam. How many people there could have been walking around the streets while her and her family were trying to stay quiet in a populated city in an attic, as well as this shows the Anne Frank house, where you can get a reference point to see just how tiny the house was. Our next one is Brainy Quotes, and these are all quotes that Anne Frank uh, came up with in her writing and everything she had in her head or was thinking. And the purpose of this is, this allows our students, our future educators that we are teaching, to really think critically about the time period, to understand the history that was happening, and develop a full perspective on what they would like to add in their own lesson plans. To finish up this lesson that we'll be teaching in tech class, what we'll be doing is asking some questions as in our assessment to get a really full view if we did the job correctly. So some of our assessment questions would be, what could students create that will demonstrate their understanding? The teachers are coming up with lesson plans, but how can we incorporate our students so they get a full breadth of knowledge? Really incorporating student learning, student-centered versus teacher-centered. And then we're really designing the experience so both majors can come together. And then we want to know what would they change about it? What can they do that will make more sense for them, or possibly, work better in terms of how they might collaborate with another teacher when they are in the classroom. So this has been the screencast of the Teaching Curriculum Edge that our peers and future educators can refer back to if they would ever like to incorporate this lesson with themselves. Thank you very much.